Okay, so I wanted to spend a little bit of time, hopefully filling in some of the gaps um, on how we can use SceneBuilder and JavaFX to build some simple applications. So if you followed all of the basic tutorials, you should know how to get your IDE configured and also how to get a simple button with an event listener. Um, but in this video, I'm going to cover a little bit more of the basics on how we can interact between the code and um, the graphical user interface, the GUI, and so on. And so the kinds of things you would already be comfortable with is opening up our FXML file over in SceneBuilder. And just to show you something a little different, I'm going to completely empty this scene and let's throw maybe something like we'll go with HBox. That's a fairly basic and easy to understand layout pane. And what an HBox is going to do is it just horizontally lay out anything that we put in there. And so we can maybe throw a button because you guys know already how to do that. There's a button, but also maybe I'll just throw some text in there. Okay, so it's just button and some text, and whatever I add is just gonna keep adding horizontally. One thing I'm gonna do though is for this text one, I'm gonna give it an ID, and then we can go back and then we can learn how we can interact with this little text uh, component from code. So we can give this any name that we want, but I'm just gonna call this text one. Control save. If I go back, we'll see that our FXML should have changed, and now we have an HBox that has a button and a text component. One thing that happens if you do something like that is you're gonna lose your linkage to your controller. So you'll see that I'm actually gonna be missing the controller attribute, and so I wanna link that back too. I renamed this package CSC. I think when you start off, that says sample. So it'll be CSC164.controller. And so now that linked the controller back. And so here in controller, I'm going to show you a couple of things, but here's something you haven't seen before. This is a method called Initialize, and that's specific for FXML. And what this is going to do is that when the FXML file is loaded, it's going to run this code. So it's kind of like a main method. So the other thing I'm going to be inserting is now we're going to add the linkage to the GUI objects that we just created, and so we're going to be injecting our components to the controller. So it was a text object and text one. So now we have the ability to refer to that text object that we created over in SceneBuilder from code in here. It's just complaining that you want to import, and so I'm going to import the correct one, which always look out for the JavaFX. And so now I've imported it, so it's not complaining anymore. And so from here, you should be able to see something like, okay, I can set that text to be like hello world. It has to be a string though. So string for hello world. Okay. So that should be it for just a really simple way of interacting with the objects that we create. So there's hello world. And so even for the button, it would be the same exact thing. So if I wanted to do that, I would just have to do FXML private button and button, and I would need to go back and watch out for stuff like this. So when I'm importing, it's gonna try to give me all the different options that it's aware of. So this is IntelliJ suggesting. I want to make sure I I do the JavaFX one, otherwise I'm gonna run into other issues. I'm actually gonna go in here and button, I think is what I called it, button, so that's good. And so now I have the ability to do things with that button, and there's a whole bunch of things that you can do with the button object. All right, I'm gonna be making a couple of other videos, but that's really important, sort of the basic concepts for having our controller, having our FXML, and running our JavaFX programs.